Welcome to the Allen Park Sports and News Podcast. We have a variety of topics to discuss with you today. First of all, we would like to discuss Allen Park taking on Fortson High School. We're going to give you our takeaways from that game. The Detroit Lions, they actually won their first game, so we're going to have our sports expert give us his opinion on that as well. And then transitioning to the UFC, we're going to give our predictions for UFC 270, the main event, Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. Also, there's been a fight announcement, Islam Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush, and we're going to talk about the implications of that fight. Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul is off. It is canceled, and there's a replacement fighter stepping in for Mr. Fury, and we're going to discuss that as well. And then we're going to talk about Triller Fight Club's new Triad Combat, and basically we're going to run down the whole event and tell you how those fights went. So anyways, let's get right into the podcast. All right, the Allen Park Jaguars actually lost their season opener against Fortson. The final score was 63-47, and in my opinion, Allen Park did have a lot of problems this game. First of all, the turnovers was very excessive. We turned the ball over a lot, and also we gave up wide open layups to number 34, who had at least 8 points off of wide open layups, and he had plenty of other opportunities. He just didn't make all of his shots. And not closing out on the shooter, number 24, he was making threes, and no one was really closing out on him. We didn't push the fast break enough, in my opinion, and not being aggressive on both ends of the court. We definitely lost the rebounding battle, and it really, the game was over, I would say, about mid-third quarter. We were down by like 5 at halftime, but then they really pulled away in the third quarter. So we're actually going to take this to our basketball expert, who's actually a member of the Allen Park Jaguars basketball team, Tiago. So let's get his opinion on why things went bad last night for the Allen Park Jaguars.
Well, Nick, it's as you said. We didn't play that well on defense. We gave up some open shots. No one really boxed out. We had no communication. And a big factor that no one's talking about is that their student section. Anytime we made a mistake, we could hear them chirping against us.
Okay, yes, home court advantage is definitely something that is very underrated, especially in the lower levels like high school. But I definitely think we can beat Fortson next time we play them because, in my opinion, they're actually not that great of a team. And I think if we tighten up our offense and defense and we limit our mistakes, we can definitely make a run for it next time we play them. The Detroit Lions, they actually won their first game against the Vikings. As it stands right now, we are 1-10-1 right now. So we're going to take that to our football expert and get his opinion on the Lions winning their first game this year. So, Carson, what do you have to say about that?
Well, basing that the Lions beat the Vikings beat the Cardinals, then that should mean we're Super Bowl bound. But other than that, to be real, the Lions are the worst team in the league. We need a new coaching staff, and that's about it.
So it's been made official that Beneil Dariush is going to be taking on Islam Makhachev. Both of them are ranked in the top 5, to be specific, number 3 and number 4. I definitely see the winner getting a title shot next against the winner of Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. Or it really depends if they could even slide in another title shot before they fight for the title, because this fight isn't going to happen for a few months. I could see the championship holder taking on Justin Gaethje first, and then the winner of this fight will take on whoever holds the belt at the time. But if you're asking me to give a prediction for this fight at the moment, I'm going to have to go with Islam Makhachev. I just think he is better all around than Beneil Dariush. But, I mean, Beneil does have the, in my opinion, the most power in the division. So he could definitely, if he lands a nice shot, put Islam to sleep. But it looks like this fight is going to be mostly on the ground because they are both wrestlers. And I do believe Islam is the best wrestler in the division. So that's why I would favor him in this fight. So, breaking news, Tommy Fury has pulled out of his fight on December 18th, where he will be taking on YouTube Disney star Jake Paul in a boxing match. However, the show will go on, and Jake Paul will be taking on Tyron Woodley for the second time. This is the rematch from their first fight. Tyron did demand a rematch, but Jake did not grant that to him. So now that Fury has pulled out, this was the perfect opportunity for Tyron to step in, and he did. So he's taking this fight on a shortened 12 days notice, but we'll see who is going to win. In my personal opinion, I would have to favor Jake Paul because Tyron hasn't had a full training camp. But like I said, we'll see the last fight. I picked Jake Paul, and I also got that right. And when it went to the decision, I had this fight scored 7 rounds to 1 or 6 rounds to 2. So I thought Jake won that pretty comfortably. But we'll see. Tyron does have that big right hand, so that is the ultimate equalizer in the boxing ring. So, like I said, we'll see. So we're actually going to take this to our boxing expert, Kai, and he's going to give us his opinion on Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley in their rematch fight coming up. So let's hear his predictions on how this fight's going to go.
Listen, we know Tyron's been wanting a rematch for some time. We know that he's been staying in shape, but it's nowhere near training as much as Jake Paul. So it's probably going to be another war. We know Tyron's going to let his hands go and be a lot less careful because he's going to want to win this fight, because what cost him his loss last time was being way too cautious.
So do you think Tommy pulling out of the Jake fight was actually because of an injury, or do you think that it was possibly staged or faked and he was just too nervous to actually go out there and perform in front of the bright lights?
Listen, I don't think Tommy is nervous about the fight at all. I think he was completely ready for it. He's about to dominate Jake Paul completely, but then unfortunately he had that broken rib and he got that chest infection, and you really just can't box like that. If he did, he would have been dropped, definitely. So something that I'm actually really looking forward to taking place in January is UFC 270. We have Francis Ngannou taking on Ciryl Gane for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world in mixed martial arts, MMA. I'm very happy the UFC has put this fight together. It was obvious, it was clear cut, this was the fight to make at heavyweight. You have Francis Ngannou, who has all the knockout power in the world, and honestly, if he wins this fight, I mean, he might not have the resume to back it up yet, but you could make the argument that he is the best heavyweight of all time. And then you have Ciryl Gane, who is just not just built like a monster, but is also so incredibly skilled too. So this is the perfect clash of actual raw power and just freakish natural gifts by Francis Ngannou clashing with Ciryl Gane's extreme skill. Now, the one thing about the heavyweight division is it's extremely hard to predict because of all the knockout power that this division has. But if you're asking me to give you an early fight prediction right now for Ciryl Gane versus Francis Ngannou, I'm going to have to slightly favor Ciryl Gane in this fight just because of how incredibly skilled he is. He's undefeated, and he's faced all sorts of opponents, and his last fight against Derek Lewis, he completely neutralized Derek Lewis's monstrous right hand too. And I know Francis Ngannou is a lot better than Derek Lewis. He's a lot more skilled than Derek is, but I definitely think that Ciryl Gane is going to win this fight as of right now, even though the betting lines have Francis as a slight favorite. But like I said, this is the heavyweight division, and I could totally see as a possibility Francis Ngannou knocking out Ciryl Gane just because of how much of a monster this guy really is. Both men are really just monsters. Triller Fight Club just held an event where they introduced a new combat sport called Triad Combat, which is basically a crossover between boxing and MMA, kind of like the perfect mix between the two. You can basically do any type of strikes with your fists that you want, but there's no kicking or wrestling. But unlike boxing, you are allowed to throw back fists and do any type of strike you want with your fists.
So I'm just going to give you a quick summary on how this event went. Mike Perry won his fight in a split decision. Alexander Flores won his fight in a unanimous decision. And Kolbrat Pulev defeated Frank Mir in the first round by TKO knockout. If you're still here, thank you for listening to our podcast. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more sports content like this. Thank you for listening and have a great day.